Okay, today we're going to make a painting of these aspen or birch trees. We're going to use a couple techniques. We're going to use a wash technique. We're going to use the salt, and we're going to learn how to put this all together into a finished painting. So we're going to need several supplies. You need a pencil, you need some masking tape, your watercolor paper, a cup with water. We're going to start with a flat paintbrush. We will use a pointed paintbrush eventually. Some salt, and of course your watercolor paints. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the tape, we're going to tape the edges of our paper. This is going to help our paper to keep from curling up when we paint on it. Also creates a nice little border around the edge of the paper. So just get a strip of tape and you're going to put it across the bottom, and then you're going to continue around all four sides. Once you have all of your sides taped, you just tear off any extra. Don't wrap it around the back, and then you're going to put your name at the top on the back of your paper. Okay, so we're ready to get started. So the first thing we need to do is kind of think about the horizon line, where the ground is going to meet the sky. I'm going to put a little mark on the edge where my tape is just to kind of remind me where that is. Then I'm going to use some strips of tape, which are going to be the trees. I'm going to make 3 of them. The key is to make sure the strip of tape is at the top of the paper and it goes below those little marks where you indicated your horizon line is going to be. So I've got my 3 pieces of tape there, and now I'm going to just lightly sketch in my horizon line. It does not have to be perfectly straight. Mine's a little bit wavy there, kind of like there's a hill. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a wash. Here I'm making some blue and some purple colors to create the wash for my sky. I've kind of mixed a little bit of green in the blue, and I've mixed a little bit of blue into the purple. So here I'm just going to test it out, and you can see where I'm going to start with the blue color at the top, and then I'm going to slowly start adding in the purple, so it kind of fades from blue to purple, so we have a 2-color wash. So you're going to take your blue color, and you're going to go across, painting right over the masking tape. The key is to not make sure you don't scrub your paper, because then you get those little paper fibers, which is not really good. And then just kind of follow along the edge of your horizon line down here, so you can see I'm making a slight curve since mine was curvy. Then while the paint is still wet, we're going to get a little bit of salt, and we're going to sprinkle it onto the paint. And that's going to kind of create that little effect that like snow is falling. Okay, once we do that, we're going to work on making a color for the shadow, because we're going to have some shadows on these trees. So to do that, I'm going to take the complementary color of the blue. The complementary color is the one across from the color wheel, which in this case happens to be orange. So I'm going to mix a little bit of orange into my blue, and it's going to create kind of a gray color, which is great for the shadows. So I'm going to think about the direction I want my shadows to go, and then I'm going to come from the bottom of that tape in that direction. You need to make sure all of your shadows go the same direction. And now basically we just need to let it dry for a minute. Then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to trace along the edge of those lines there. And once it's dry, I can then peel the tape off. And I traced there so I knew where the bottom of my trees were. If your tape gets stuck, just start from the bottom and pull up that way. Just pull real slowly. If it tears the paper a little bit, it's okay. Now we're going to take that same gray color that we used before, and we're going to paint just a strip down one side, the side that your shadow's pointing of our tree, just to make a little shadowy edge on the side of our tree. Then I'm going to start making those little lines that indicate the texture, the pattern that is on that aspen or birch tree bark. And so to do that, I'm just mixing up a little bit more of my bluish orangish color. I'm going to add a tiny drop of black just to make it a little bit darker. Don't put a lot because it'll really take over the paint. Then I'm just going to use the tip of my pointed paintbrush. I've switched to a pointed paintbrush now to kind of paint in just some varying lines around. Notice how my lines are slightly curved. That's because my tree is curved. If I were to put them just straight across, then they will look very flat. By curving them slightly, they tend to get more rounded. Once I finish that, I'm going to go ahead and do all of the trees. Now pretty much I just let it dry, and then I'm going to take and wipe off all that excess salt because I don't need that anymore. And my painting's pretty much done. So now my next step is going to be to start to peel this tape off from around the outside edge of the paper. Once your paper is all clean and you've got all the tape peeled off, then you're just going to grab a Sharpie and sign it down there at the bottom. And so you've created a little winter scene with birch trees. We have a little gradient wash of 2 colors in the background. We've created some shadowing, and then we've added texture using just a light, thin wash of color. So what you're going to do now is repeat this process on your own to create the same painting yourself. And when you're done, make sure your name is on the back of it before you put it on the drying rack or turn it in.